Okay, these are the notes for Chapter 2 for social media class, goals and strategies. Two of the most important steps in creating a social media marketing plan are, first off, goal setting. You have to know what your end game is going to be. And then strategy determination. How are you going to meet those goals? So goal setting and strategy determination, two of the most important steps. Before moving forward with SMM activities, an organization should first determine what it wants to accomplish and then how best to do it. Because without goals, it'll be unclear in which direction to go or how to ultimately measure success. Can't remember if I shared this in a previous lecture or not, but there's a business guru. He actually passed away a couple of years ago by the name of Zig Ziglar, and he is known for saying, "If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time." In other words, what that means is if you don't have a clear aim or a clear focus, you're going to wind up hitting nothing. So if you aim at nothing, you'll hit nothing every time. So you have to have a goal. You have to have a target that you're hitting. And then you have to have a means in order to be able to reach and achieve and hit that goal. So what is a social media marketing plan? An SMM plan details an organization's social media goals and the actions necessary to achieve them. Key among those actions is the understanding of corporate and marketing strategies and the creation of promotional strategies. So we're dealing here with the aspect of marketing, which is the process of letting people know what it is they need and trying to connect with them on that on a emotional level in one way or another. And also the creation of the promotional strategies, how you put yourself out there and make it so that people can become aware of you and what you have going on. In your textbook, there's a graphic representation of what we're going to be talking about here with the social media planning cycle. And it starts there at the top right of the circle where it says listen. And then you see that the circle goes around. But then after you go through the entire process, you get to where you start all over again. So this is a very fluid, very ongoing cycle in what it means to plan your social media strategy. So again, step number 1, listening. Listening to what people are saying about a company or a brand. Listening enables the organization to determine its current social media presence. So you're able to find out what people are saying about you, what sort of information is already out there, whether it be good or bad. Listening provides a competitive intelligence. In other words, information about what people are saying about competitors and what the competitors are saying about themselves. So it gives you a sense of what's happening with others that are in the same business you are. Thirdly, listening reveals the way in which people talk about products and brands. So you're getting a sense of not just yourself, but what's going on with others around you and basically just what's happening in general. Setting goals involves conducting analysis to determine an organization's strengths and weaknesses and the opportunities and threats in the competitive environment. That's the 4 aspects there: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You can think of it as SWOT for short, SWOT. And setting goals helps you to be able to figure out what to do in light of these bits of information that you perceive from your listening and your perceiving of what's going on out there. Fourthly, defining strategies. Defining strategies must be done on a case-by-case basis using all available pertinent information. Now, these must be adjusted to each organization's unique strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So based on the information that you have learned and the assessment of what those SWOT qualities are, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, you're able to then determine the strategies that you are going to implement in order to achieve your goals. Fifthly, identify the target audience or the market. That is done by pinpointing the location, behavior, tastes, and needs of the target audience. Find out where they are. Meet them there. Observe what they're doing. Find out what it is that they want, what they desire, what their preferences are, what turns them on, what turns them off. Know your audience. Based on all of that, you can then select different tools to use to schedule posts on various social networks, tools to track brand mentions or hashtag usage, tools to help prepare images for posting, tools to assist with search engine optimization or SEO, and tools to shorten links, and any other tools that may be beneficial for helping you to be able to prepare content. Other tools of a graphics nature to post pictures, video tools, those sorts of things. Select all of those tools that you need as necessary. After you select the tools, you can then select your platforms and your channels. Now, the main difference of what we're talking about with platforms versus channels, first off, social media platforms are the websites on which social media communications take place. So this is Facebook, this is Twitter, this is any place where some sort of a conversation is going on. Whereas channels are broader entities composed of multiple platforms and other technologies. In other words, how you interact with the different platforms. Do you use a mobile phone? Do you use your computer? Do you use a gaming system? Whatever sort of means that you use to interact on the platforms, those are the channels. They're the means by which that information is being transmitted and received. Next in the sales cycle, the SMM planning cycle, I should say, implementing. Implementing is the process whereby the goals, strategies, target audience, and target market and platforms are taken into consideration in creating actionable social media platform specific marketing tactics. So this is where you're putting your plan into action. You've taken the action steps of research, of planning out your strategy. Now you are actually doing it and making it work for you. After you've implemented, you then monitor. Monitoring is the process of tracking, measuring, and evaluating an organization's social media marketing initiatives. How are you doing? What's the overall numbers of what's happening? How much integration are you getting out there? How much interaction are you getting out there? How many responses? What types of responses are you getting, positive or negative? And then tuning. Tuning is the constant and continuous process of adjusting and improving the elements of the plan and its implementation to maximize the chances of success. So it's not always going to be a perfect plan that you set up out there. And even if you do develop the perfect plan, it may not be perfect forever. So there's always going to need some adjustment and flexibility in order to continue to see success in the social media world. So that is the social media marketing planning cycle. First you listen, then you set goals, then you have your strategies in place. You find your target audience, where they're at, what they want, what they need. Put tools into place to help you to be able to implement your social media strategy. Monitor your progress. Fine-tune things as necessary. Wash, rinse, repeat. Start it all over again. Let's go now to the 5 stages of listening and observing. This is, again, the first part of our planning cycle, and we do want to make sure that we are spending as much time with this as is necessary in order for us to get a real grasp on what is happening and what we need to have happen. First off, stage one, listen to conversations about a brand or a company. Some of the questions that you may want to ask and have answered in this process. What are people saying about the brand? What good and bad comments have been made? How do people feel about the company? Both positive and negative remarks can show where opportunities may lie. In addition, knowing what consumers are already saying will help in preparing responses for common questions or problems. Find out what people already say about you, whether it's true or not. Perhaps part of what you need to do is change the narrative and dispel some myths that are out there. Or perhaps people don't know about a certain aspect of who you are that would be very helpful for them. And that is something that you would want to pay attention to. So listen to what people are already saying. Second, listen to what people are saying about the competitors, what they're talking about with other companies. How do people perceive the pros and cons of the competitors in the social space? Do they like them better or worse than you? Is it helpful to identify the most competitive areas of the social media landscape? What are the competitors doing on social media? Who are they targeting? Try to figure out what their end game is and the way that they're approaching different strategies. What seems to work in terms of the way that they're putting those strategies into place? What's effective? What's not effective? Are customers attracted to what they're doing or not? Pay attention to your competition. Stage 3, listening to what people say about the industry or the category. First off, what are consumers or potential customers or members of the target audience? What are they all saying about the industry? How do they feel about the particular type of product or particular type of service as a whole? Is the sentiment strongly positive or negative? What conversations occur between firms in the industry? What sort of chatter is going on business to business in the same industry? Social media content must connect with consumers on an issue that they are passionate about. And generally, that's not going to be a particular brand. Now, there are fanboys and fangirls out there that only want to deal with one particular brand of a type of product. But generally, they're going to be interested in the product itself, and they're going to be interested in the ways that the product is beneficial for them or how they see it as an enhancement to their lives. So, from the aspect of social media content, it needs to appeal to people in terms of how they deal with the type of product as a whole, any sort of issues or conversations that revolve around that particular product or service, and engaging the audience in the discussion of those issues. Okay, stage 4. Listening for the tone of the community. Observe how your consumers naturally interact with each other on social sites. Answer these types of questions. What technical jargon or acronyms or slang are they using? How do they interact with each other? Are the conversations cordial? Are they helpful? Is it people giving out information, sharing opinions? How do they interact? What words are most often used to describe specific brands, competitors, or industries? Are there certain nicknames that are out there? What's the reputation of those nicknames? Those kinds of questions to find out the overall flavor or the attitude of what's going on with the conversations about your industry and perhaps your brand in particular. How are the brands participating? Who is getting the most attention? Is there a company out there that is more interactive with the users than others? And how is that perceived? What are the unwritten rules of participation? Are there certain expectations in the way that conversations take place? What sort of knowledge there should be? All those sorts of things. How do they talk? What are they interested in? Appealing to whatever the tastes and interests are of the users that are interacting on the different platforms. All important things to watch and pay attention to. Finally, stage 5, listening to different social media platforms and channels. Access multiple social media channels to identify your target audience, where they're hanging out, what they do when they hang out there. So one of the things you'll want to watch out for in this aspect are the people interacting in a different sort of way, for example, on Facebook, as opposed to how they do on Twitter or on some sort of a blog or on some sort of a forum. Those different platforms are going to attract different types of people. And that should be evident based on what you see on those different platforms as to how the users all interact with each other. Each social media channel has a distinctive audience with unique interests, behaviors, and characteristics. And that's something you will find out as you go from platform to platform. We've been talking a lot about this in terms of a particular brand, usually a company that you're doing social media marketing for. But what about for yourself? What about listening as part of your personal branding strategy? Well, you have to keep in mind that as much as we promote companies out there in the social media marketplace, you're also marketing yourself. Whether you realize it or not, the personality that you put out there, the interest that you put out there, that is part of your personal branding. And if you're especially trying to put yourself out there as some sort of a self-proprietorship business or perhaps a influencer of some kind, you definitely want to think about your own personal brand, because your brand is you. And it is up to you to decide how you want to be perceived as your career develops. In other words, you have to define the outcome before you create the process of getting there. That outcome is your personal branding statement. So just as much as we talk about having a vision for the social media strategy for a business, you need to have that for yourself as well. What is your vision? What is your mission? And what goals are you going to use in order to get there? Picture what you want to see yourself to be and to become. And based on what you want that to be, that's the outcome that you're looking for. Develop a plan to help yourself get to that particular outcome. Megan Mars has developed an outcome statement, has some tools to help you develop an outcome statement. A couple of tips here that she has for us. Number 1, be honest about the nature of your appeal to others. Be genuine. Don't put out there anything that you're not. Think truth in advertising in this aspect. Second, you must condense your offering into a sentence or a phrase that captures its essence. You may have a lot of goals and you may have a very complex vision, but as far as letting others know what it is that you're all about, you want to put it into a nice, concise, clear sort of way for people to very quickly latch onto. Because people aren't going to sit there and read a long manifesto unless they are really interested in the basic tenets of who it is that you are. And to put that out there in a very short, easy to read sort of way will get you a long way. Third, be clear about your personal goals in the industry or in your chosen profession. What exactly do you want to do? What do you want to be? Make that evident. Fourth, make this all come together into a personal mantra. So, to be able to succinctly and very clearly put yourself out there in terms of 1 or 2 sentences or a very easy to read sort of list, that it is that you want to be. Put that out there, and then you can also develop it a little bit more after that in terms of answering basic questions of who, what, when, where, why, especially, and how. Why and how being the most important ones as to how you see yourself putting yourself together. Finally, your personal brand cannot describe some mythical creature. It must be authentic authentically you. In other words, again, truth in advertising. Who are you really? What do you want to be really? And that's how you should promote your personal brand, based on the true, honest answers to those questions. Listening centers. Tools have been created to help brands to listen to and respond to various conversations on social media. Social media listening centers can show how many people and the demographics of those people are interacting with a brand or engaging in discussion, and that in turn can be a direct measure of the return on investment in social media. The textbook offers a couple of good case study examples, including the NFL and Cisco systems, in which they actually developed these listening centers where people are actually working and actively being involved in social media, seeing what is going on in the social media landscape, how people are discussing their brands and their companies, and trying to gather that information and be able to do something with that, whether it be improving their brand or setting themselves up in such a way that they can market the users that they have for other purposes.